Welcome back to Crossroad Stories, where real people share the moments that change their lives forever. Last night, I opened my inbox and found a long email from a man named Henry, a 62-year-old American retiree who moved to Kuala Lumpur searching for peace, companionship, and a fresh start after decades of working in a demanding career. The subject line was simple: I need to tell someone the truth. When I clicked it open, I expected a short confession. Instead, I found a story so layered with betrayal, manipulation, and cold, calculated revenge that I had to read it twice. Henry wrote, "Tell this in my own words. Not to make me look good. Not to make Emma look bad. Just tell it as it happened." And that's what I'm about to do. His story begins like a romance and ends with a sting operation that brought down 3 people who thought they could destroy him. Before we start, if you enjoy real-life drama, lessons men learn later in life, and stories from the edge of trust and betrayal, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode of Crossroads Stories. Now, let's begin. I never believed a single moment could split a life into before and after. But now I know better. That Friday evening started like any other. The sky over Mont Kiara was heavy with clouds, the kind that threatened rain but rarely delivered. I had planned to spend the next few hours at a cafe down the street, working through a new book and sipping tea. Retirement in Kuala Lumpur had slowed me down in all the right ways. Soft mornings, warm evenings, and a kind of peace I never had in Boston. But halfway through the afternoon, a dull ache began twisting in my stomach. Not the kind that sends you to the hospital, but the kind that says you should lie down, especially if you're 63 and haven't been eating as well as you pretend. So I took a grab ride home earlier than planned. The lift ride felt unusually long that day. I remember leaning against the mirrored wall of the elevator, massaging my right temple, telling myself it was just fatigue, just a tired old man heading back to rest. When the doors opened on our floor, everything felt normal. The cool hallway, the faint scent of jasmine from a neighbor's diffuser, the hum of air conditioning running behind the apartment doors. Nothing warned me of the fracture waiting inside. I unlocked the door quietly. Habit, I guess. In my line of work back in the States, forensic financial analysis, moving quietly was a skill. You learn to observe before revealing yourself. You learn to analyze before reacting. I never thought I'd use those same instincts inside my own home. The condo was dim, lit only by the soft yellow glow from the bedroom. I walked in, dropped my keys on the side table, and headed toward the light. Then I stopped. She stood there, Emma, facing the mirror, tilting her face gently as she applied her lipstick. A deep red, the shade she only used when she wanted attention. The kind of attention men tend to notice first, before anything else. But what froze me wasn't the lipstick, or her slow, practiced movements, or even the way she turned her head slightly, checking her reflection from another angle. It was the dress. A silver see-through mesh dress, glittering under the bedroom lights. And beneath it, nothing. Not a bra, not a slip, not even a thin layer of modesty. Just skin. For a moment, I honestly thought I had walked into the wrong apartment. She saw me in the mirror and flinched, just for a second, before painting on a smile so smooth you'd think it was rehearsed. "Oh," she said lightly, "you're home early." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out at first. I just looked at her, at the woman I married, the woman I thought I understood. "What are you wearing?" I finally asked. She laughed. Soft, dismissive, almost childlike. "Relax, Henry. It's girls' night. The theme is glamour. Don't wait up." She said it with the same tone she'd used to remind me to buy milk. As if showing half of Kuala Lumpur her body was just another item on her checklist. I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded an explanation. I should have reacted like a husband, like a man who still had pride. But I didn't, because something felt off. Not just the dress, not just her careless tone. There was a coldness in her eyes, a distance in the way she looked at me, a thin veil of impatience, as if my presence in my own home was an inconvenience. I wasn't sick anymore. I was awake. "All right," I told her quietly. "Have fun." She nodded, barely looking at me, and continued fixing her hair, adjusting the straps of that mesh dress. I walked out of the room slowly, my mind pulling details together without my permission. My body went on autopilot as I sat in the living room. When she finally left, heels clicking confidently down the hallway, I listened until the sound faded. Then I waited another 10 minutes, long enough to convince myself that what I was about to do wasn't paranoia, but instinct. That was when I noticed her iPad on the coffee table. The screen lit up with a notification. At first, I told myself not to look. Marriage needs trust. Trust needs boundaries. And boundaries create respect. But trust has to be given to someone who values it. And the woman who walked out that door in a naked under mesh dress did not look like someone protecting anything sacred. So I picked up the iPad. No passcode. She never thought she had anything to hide. The message preview read, "Can't wait to see you later." Sent by Raymond Lim. My heart sank. Not because the message was romantic, but because it was careless. The tone wasn't new. It wasn't fresh. It was routine. I unlocked the iPad and opened chat. The first message, I tapped on ruined 15 years of my life in one swipe. Raymond Lim, investment banker, married, father of 2. His texts were bold, cocky, full of innuendo. Right beneath, it was another thread. Daniel Ong, insurance agency manager, also married. 2 men, not 1, 2. Both conversations full of photos, meet-up plans, and a kind of familiarity that told me this hadn't started yesterday, or last month, or even this year. Then I found a worse part. Screenshots of my old pictures Emma sent them. Me reading on the balcony, me cooking, me smiling at something in the kitchen. And beneath each screenshot were messages like, "He doesn't suspect anything. Old men are too easy to trick. He still thinks I'm loyal. He's a sweet guy, but too slow. Slow, old, easy, blind." They said it openly. Emma laughed along. I didn't feel my heart break. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I felt something colder, sharper, more familiar. The same feeling I had when uncovering financial fraud in Boston. The same feeling I had before exposing a company president who thought he could hide millions. It wasn't grief. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. A switch in my mind flipped, quietly, decisively. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was mocking me, underestimating me. And that was her biggest mistake. My stomach didn't ache anymore. My thoughts were steady. My pulse calm. Because in that exact moment, something I hadn't used in years awakened again. My investigative instincts. And they whispered one thing. Watch first. Understand everything. Then strike. People think betrayal hits all at once. Like a hammer to the heart. Like a punch you never saw coming. But that's not how it felt for me. For me, betrayal unfolded slowly, like a curtain being pulled back, 1 inch at a time, revealing a stage full of actors I didn't know were part of my life. After reading the first few messages between Emma and those 2 men, I should have stopped. Any normal husband would have slammed the iPad shut, walked out onto the balcony, and tried to forget what he saw. But there's nothing normal about spending 30 years dissecting financial crimes, exposing fraud, and analyzing lies buried beneath layers of numbers and words. My training didn't let me turn away. My mind didn't allow retreat. So I kept digging. And the more I scrolled, the more I understood that Emma's betrayal wasn't emotional or romantic at all. It was logistical, strategic, coordinated. This wasn't infidelity. It was a planned operation. The first clue appeared inside a folder in her email titled Workshop Materials. A clever disguise. Nobody checks business folders. Inside it, I found screenshots of bank account summaries, digital copies of my old signatures, drafts of legal partnership forms, a spreadsheet titled Projected Gains, Phase 2. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw the names at the top of the spreadsheet, written in neat columns. Emma Munn, Raymond Lim, Daniel Ong, Henry Caldwell, Capital Source. And beneath my name, in parentheses, the words, Primary Fund Target. My throat tightened. I scrolled further. Lines of calculations. Distribution percentages. Estimated withdrawal timelines. Projected removal of liability. I knew that phrase. I'd written it myself hundreds of times in old case reports. It didn't mean protect. It meant cut off, discard, sacrifice. Then the truth solidified. Emma wasn't planning to steal little. She wasn't planning to run away with a lover. She, Raymond, and Daniel were planning to extract my entire retirement fund, transfer into a joint investment fund, and then pin the illegal parts on me. 3 people. 1 target. Me. A cold sweat ran down my back as I opened her WhatsApp. That's when I found the group chat. T3 nights. The icon was a triangle of 3 wine glasses clinking together. Cute. Edenic. Innocent. If you didn't know better. I tapped it. The chat exploded open. Months of messages between the 3 of them. Plans, jokes, coded references. Pictures, voice notes, emojis. A swarm of betrayal. I read slowly, methodically. Raymond. When he signs the partnership doc, everything moves automatically. Daniel. My guy already prepared the shell company. Henry won't know until too late. Emma. He'll trust me. He always does. That's why this is easy. And after, Raymond replied. Emma sent a voice message. I hesitated before pressing play. Her voice, warm, soft, confident, slid through the speakers. After he signs, we let the documents implicate him. Money laundering or misappropriation. He'll look guilty either way. He's old. He won't fight it. Old. Won't fight it. It was strange what I felt in that moment. Not hurt. Not rage. Something colder. Something I had only felt in interrogation rooms, sitting across from people who thought they were smarter than the system. I looked around the condo I had furnished for her comfort. The marble table, the art she insisted would match the curtains, the shelves I installed with my own hands. Everything suddenly felt like a set she had been acting in. I kept reading. Daniel. He has no family here. Easy cleanup. Emma. Exactly. He'll be alone, and I'll be gone before he even understands what happened. Gone. She wasn't just planning to take my money. She was planning to abandon me in this city I loved. I didn't blink, didn't sigh, didn't speak. Instead, an old part of me, the part trained to handle white-collar criminals, switched back on. Calculate first. React later. I went to my study, closed the door quietly, and took out my phone. There was only one person I could trust with something like this. Marcus Tan, half Malaysian, half Chinese-American, a brilliant investigator, and the only man who had ever outperformed me in a fraud audit. I hadn't seen him in years, but Betrayal has a way of clearing old dust off forgotten names. I sent him a message. I need you in KL. It's urgent, personal, but criminal. He replied in 5 minutes. Flying tomorrow morning. Just like that. While Emma was out wearing her mesh dress, flirting with 2 men, planning my financial funeral, Marcus was booking a flight. I spent the rest of the night scrolling through her messages, emails, cloud backups, financial trails. Every click sharpened my understanding. Emma wasn't the mastermind. She was the lure, the face of the trap, the emotional hook, the one who made things look harmless and loving. Raymond handled the banking structure. Daniel handled insurance-related paperwork and forged documentation. Emma handled me. By the time the sun rose, I had mapped out their entire operation in my notebook, dates, transactions, conversations. When Marcus arrived the next afternoon, he stepped in the condo, took one look at my notes spread across the table, and whistled low. Looks like your wife is running a full-scale extraction scheme, he said. This isn't small. No, I replied calmly. It's not. He studied my face. You okay? I'm fine, I said. I'm not heartbroken. What are you? He asked. I looked down at the pages, evidence of deception, betrayal, manipulation, and I felt something precise settle inside me. I'm focused, I said, and I meant it. Together, we began tracking Emma's movements, her bank transfers, her meetings, her device activity, her patterns. No shouting, no confronting, no emotional outbursts. My revenge didn't come from fury. It came from clarity. While Emma thought she was tightening the noose around me, I was quietly removing the chair from beneath her. The next 72 hours felt like slipping back into a life I thought I'd put behind me. Late nights, screens glowing in the dark, documents cross-checked until my eyes burned. Except now, the target wasn't some faceless corporate ring. It was the people sleeping beside my wife. It was my wife herself. Marcus arrived at my condo at 7:45 a.m. sharp on Monday. The man hadn't changed, still wearing his black-rimmed glasses, still dressed in a shirt that looked too crisp to be casual. 48 years old, half Malaysian, half Cantonese, with a mind like a steel trap and absolutely no patience for nonsense. He set his bag on my dining table and said, "Show me everything." And I did. By noon, Marcus had absorbed every screenshot, every log, every message. He looked genuinely disturbed when he finished reading the T3 Nights chat. "Henry, this isn't infidelity. This is organized fraud. They planned it. They rehearsed it. They even timed your monthly transfers." I nodded. I figured. He stared at me for a moment. "You're taking this too calmly." "I learned a long time ago," I said, "that panic blurs details. And details are what save you." Marcus didn't argue. We started with Emma. If someone intends to commit fraud, they always leave small breadcrumbs, testing the water before the big splash. Marcus discovered the first one in less than 4 hours. "Here," he said, turning his laptop toward me. A document from 2 years ago, an insurance update form, carried my signature. Except the signature wasn't mine. It was a little too slanted on the H, and the Caldwell looped upward instead of down. A practiced forgery. Not perfect, but enough to pass casual checks. "She forged your signature before," Marcus said. "That means she already tested how far she could push boundaries." I felt a familiar heaviness in my chest, but not from heartbreak. From recognition. "This wasn't spontaneous," I murmured. "She's been preparing." Marcus kept digging. By evening, he pulled up evidence of small, careful transfers. RM 900 here, RM1 500 there. Moved from our joint account into a private Indonesian account under the name Iman. Not enough to alert the bank, just enough to establish a pattern. "She's been creating a buffer," Marcus said. "Money she can access offshore the second she disappears." "And when does she plan to disappear?" Marcus turned his laptop again. A digital calendar entry synced from her iPad. "Flight to Jakarta, 11 days from now. One-way ticket." My jaw tightened. So that was her timeline. 11 days until Emma intended to vanish. Next, we moved on to Raymond Lim, the polished investment banker who liked to call me old-timer in the secret chat group. Marcus smirked as he began pulling files. "Bankers always think they're untouchable," he said, "but arrogance creates openings." And openings we found. Raymond was already under an internal investigation. He had been flagged for fund allocation discrepancies. Translated, he was shuffling client money places it shouldn't be. "Henry, this guy is hours away from a scandal," Marcus said. "If the bank digs one layer deeper, he's finished." I raised an eyebrow. "Debt? Worse. Loan sharks." Marcus tapped the screen. "Owes a syndicate in Pudu nearly RM 300,000. They've given him a 2-week extension. After that, let's just say he'll wish corporate investigators were his only problem." So Raymond wasn't just morally bankrupt. He was literally bankrupt. That meant he needed money fast. Desperately fast. Of course, Emma promised him a share of my retirement fund. Of course, he believed her. He needed salvation, and my hard-earned money was the floating plank he hoped to cling to. Then came Daniel Ong, Emma's second affair partner. I had expected a smooth talker, a habitual cheater, maybe someone bored with his marriage. I hadn't expected what Marcus found. Daniel was running a quiet but highly profitable fake insurance scheme. He preyed on older Malaysians, especially retirees, offering exclusive coverage plans that didn't exist. "Classic exploitation model," Marcus said. "He takes their cash, issues a fake policy, and disappears when they file a claim." "How hasn't he been caught?" I asked. "Oh, he will be," Marcus replied. "His wife is already onto him." That made me pause. His wife. Marcus turned the laptop again. A clip, grainy but clear, recorded by a small hidden camera. Daniel's wife confronting him in their kitchen, voice trembling but determined. She accused him of cheating, stealing, lying. She threatened to collect evidence. She said she had already spoken to a lawyer. Daniel laughed at her face. "Wrong move." "His wife's gathering proof," Marcus said. "If she goes to the authorities, Daniel is done." "So he needs Emma's plan to work," I said slowly. "He thinks he needs to escape before his wife destroys him." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. And Emma, she's the perfect escape hatch for them both. I lean back in my chair, exhaling slowly. So that was the triangle. A wife planning to abandon me. A banker drowning in debt. An agent running a fraudulent empire. All of them desperate. All of them willing to tear me apart for money. For the first time since I found that see-through dress, I felt something close to purpose. They want to trap me financially, I said. Fine. I'll give them something to chew on. I spent the next 2 days moving every cent, every pension fund, every mutual investment, every offshore holding into trust accounts under legal protection with emergency clauses only I could activate. If Emma tried to pull money now, she'd find nothing but locked gates and warnings. Meanwhile, I created a secure folder documenting every discovery so far. Forged signature, offshore transfers, flight booking, Raymond's debt, Daniel's fraudulent policies, screenshots of their messages, timestamps, transaction trails, location logs. I'm building a timeline, I told Marcus. A clean, undeniable one. He nodded approvingly. This is the Henry the First, remember. Cold, methodical, dangerous. I didn't smile. I didn't need to, because for the first time, the path ahead was clear. Not revenge born from anger. Just a precise dismantling of their illusion. Piece by piece. Weakness by weakness. They thought they were hunting me. They had no idea I'd already begun turning the walls inward. For the next week, I played the role of the oblivious husband with the precision of a veteran actor. I cooked breakfast, asked about Emma's work events, even complimented her outfits. I gave her absolutely no reason to suspect I knew anything. And it worked. By the third day, Emma's confidence bloomed like a poisonous flower. She walked a little lighter, hummed while doing her makeup, even smiled at her phone openly. No more hiding the screen, no more quick swipes to close chats. She thought I was the same old Henry, the trusting retiree, the harmless, aging man she believed she could outsmart. Let her think that. It made the next steps easier. I installed surveillance legally. Nothing invasive, nothing that could be used against me. Just small, quiet tools. A recorder app activated only when her iPad opened the T3 Nights group. A motion trigger audio log in the study where she handled documents. A cloud backup for emails she forgot to delete. Everything collected was time-stamped, metadata intact, all perfectly admissible. This wasn't revenge through rage. This was documentation. Meanwhile, Marcus was executing the other half of the operation. 3 anonymous packets were sent out to Raymond's Bank Compliance Division, containing evidence of client misallocations, screenshots of his messages with Emma discussing incoming funds, and copies of his undisclosed debts. To Daniel's insurance headquarters, recordings of him offering fake policies, sample forms he falsified, and transaction logs of cash-only deals. To Daniel's wife, a neatly packaged USB containing proof of both affairs. Emma and another woman Daniel had kept hidden. Marcus labeled everything with one simple phrase. For internal review. No sender. No trace. Just enough truth to start fires in 3 different corners of Kuala Lumpur. Thursday night, Emma approached me in the kitchen while I was making tea. Henry, she said with a bright, rehearsed smile, I'll be away this Saturday. Company retreat. 2 nights. Team building. I nodded with perfect calm. Oh, where to? She slipped. She didn't expect the question. Port Dixon. But her phone, sitting face down on the counter, buzzed at the exact moment. I saw the preview. A message from Raymond. Sakura Orchid. RM confirmed. Bring him by noon. I pretended not to notice. She pretended nothing happened. We played our roles well. Saturday morning, Emma kissed my cheek, grabbed her luggage, and left. The second the door closed, I opened the tracker app Marcus had installed. Linked to a small AirTag, slipped into the lining of her handbag. The dot moved across the digital map. Not toward Port Dixon. Not even close. Straight into Cheras, toward a run-down street known for its discreet short-stay motels. At 11:12 a.m., the dot stopped moving. She had arrived. Hotel, Sakura Orchid. A place with hourly rates, tinted lobby windows, and a reputation nobody admits to knowing. This was where they planned to get my signature. Where they would finalize the offshore plan. where Raymond and Daniel would convince Emma they were finally ready to run, and where all of them believed I was sitting at home, sipping tea, blissfully unaware. I sat at my desk and opened the master file, a timeline of every move they had made in the past month. Then I opened the second file, the collapse sequence. Marcus and I had crafted it with surgical precision. At exactly 12:30 p.m., the bank's compliance division would open the packet on Raymond. They would call his department head. His department head would summon him. Raymond wouldn't answer. He'd be at the motel. At 12:45 p.m., Daniel's Insurance HQ would forward the evidence from the anonymous packet to the Internal Ethics Board. A warning would be sent to his manager. A second warning would go to his wife, who had already set her own trap. At 12:50 p.m., Daniel's wife would drive toward Cheras with her sister and a lawyer. At 1 p.m., Raymond's loan shark collectors, angered by a debt extension request Marcus had anonymously triggered, would arrive at the motel searching for him. And all of it, every piece of chaos, every pressure point, every exposed nerve, was timed to collide precisely when Emma expected me to walk into the room and sign my financial suicide. Instead, she would face the consequences of her own alliances. Before I left the condo, I looked around the living room. The life I'd built, the life she was willing to burn for greed and foolish ambition. I took one deep breath, not out of sadness, out of closure. Then I locked the door behind me, because everything was now set in motion. 3 betrayals, 3 conspirators, 3 collapsing worlds, and all of them were converging at the same cheap room in Hotel Sakura Orchid, exactly as planned. The Sakura Orchid didn't even try to hide what it was. Tinted glass, peeling paint, a dim lobby where no one made eye contact. Marcus and I stood across the street inside a small cafe, the type that sold RM for Kopi and didn't ask questions. From the second-floor window of the motel, the curtains were drawn. Room 207, Emma's temporary kingdom of lies. Marcus checked his watch. 3 minutes, he murmured. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Through the static of distant traffic and muffled karaoke from a bar downstairs, the tension felt alive, like the air before a thunderstorm. Inside that room, Emma, Raymond, and Daniel were waiting to finalize the switch. My signature, my accounts, my retirement, transferred into an offshore pool that none of them intended to share with the others. And Emma, she dressed for manipulation, not business. A tight burgundy slip, hair curled, perfume thick enough to reach the corridor outside. She intended to seduce Raymond into giving her a bigger cut after the transfer. None of them knew the walls were about to collapse. A black sedan pulled into the parking lot. 2 men in corporate attire stepped out, stern faces, ID lanyards flashing in the sun. Compliance division, Marcus whispered. They marched straight into the motel without hesitation. Seconds later, in room 207, shouting erupted. Raymond Lim, open the door. I imagined the panic inside. Raymond scrambling, Emma stunned, Daniel cursing under his breath. The first fracture. A second motorcycle roared into the lot. 2 tattooed enforcers dismounted, helmets still on, scanning the building like predators tracking a wounded animal. They stormed inside, their footsteps heavy on the stairwell. When they reached room 207, one of them pounded on the door so hard the metal rattled. Raymond, your deadline was yesterday. Come out. Another explosion of shouts. This time more desperate. The second fracture. A silver MPV screeched to a stop. Out stepped Daniel's wife. Face red, tears streaked down her cheeks, but her posture stiff with fury. Beside her, 2 men in suits, his insurance supervisors. She pointed at the motel entrance, screaming, "He's inside!" With her. The supervisors exchanged looks and followed her in. Upstairs, the argument intensified, the walls barely containing it. Daniel's voice was unmistakable, panicked, defensive, loud. Third fracture. 2 police cars arrived almost simultaneously, blue lights flashing silently, as if embarrassed to be seen in daylight. Marcus gave a soft chuckle. Anonymous reports, remarkable timing. Anonymous reports about domestic disturbance, a loan shark threats, possible illegal financial activity, Suspected fraud involving elderly victims, all leading to room 207. The officers followed the sound of chaos and gathered outside the door. For fractures, the room could no longer hold the pressure. Marcus and I shifted from the cafe window to the sidewalk, stopping just short of crossing the street. The door to 207 burst open. The scene was almost surreal. Raymond, shirt half unbuttoned, hair wild, was screaming at Daniel, jabbing a finger into his chest. Daniel, sweating, cornered, was caught between his furious wife, his supervisors, and the police. Emma, in her provocative burgundy slip, stood frozen, mascara smudged, caught between every version of her betrayal. Detectives shouted for order. Loan sharks demanded repayment and shoved Raymond against the wall. Daniel's wife slapped him so hard that even the officers paused. His supervisors barked questions he couldn't answer. Emma started crying, begging for anyone to listen. No one did, because at that moment, every truth exploded at once. Raymond accused Daniel of forging documents. Daniel screamed that Emma orchestrated everything. Emma wailed that Raymond promised her protection. Raymond shouted back that Emma seduced him for money. Daniel blamed them both for ruining him. And in the chaos, all three forgot the most important fact. They had planned to destroy me. Now they were destroying each other instead. The officers separated them, trying to restore order, but it was pointless. Their alliance, built on greed, lies, and ego, collapsed in the most public, humiliating way possible. I felt no joy, no vengeance, just clarity. This is what happens when people think they're the smartest in the room. They forget who built the structure around them. Marcus glanced at me. "You want to go in?" I shook my head. "No, they don't deserve the satisfaction of seeing me." We stood at the edge of the sidewalk, watching Raymond being handcuffed, Daniel being dragged into the hallway by police, and Emma collapsing onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably as officers tried to question her. She looked small, lost, out of control. The same woman who wore a see-through dress to mock my trust now knelt in the dirt of her own destruction. And she didn't even realize the precision of the storm that took her down. She thought life was punishing her. She'd never know I had engineered every second. Marcus gave me a slight nod. "It's done." I exhaled, slowly, evenly. "Yes," I said, "it's done." But the story wasn't over yet. 2 days after the implosion at Hotel Sakura Orchid, Emma finally called me. Not to confess, not to apologize, just a hollow, trembling voice saying, "Can we talk?" I agreed to meet at the Mont Kiera condo. The home we once shared now felt like a stage set waiting to be dismantled. She arrived wearing oversized sunglasses, trying to hide the swelling around her eyes. "Henry," she whispered, "please, I need you to understand. I didn't mean for everything to." I raised a hand. "Sit." She obeyed immediately. I placed a single folder on the dining table. Thick, heavy, organized. Her eyes darted toward it. What is that?" "My piece," I said. Then I opened it. I started with the simplest proof. Her WhatsApp chats. Messages where she called me the old fool, where she promised Raymond my retirement fund, where she mocked my trust. She went pale. Next, the recordings, including her conversation with Raymond where she said, "Once he signs, I'm gone. You and Daniel can figure out your shares later." Her hand shook. "Henry, that's not." I continued. Her forged signature printed beside my actual signature, both highlighted for comparison. The Indonesian transfer logs. Screenshots of her flight booking. Daniel and Raymond's messages coordinating how to pressure me. By the time I laid out the final document, she was crying openly. "You don't understand," she pleaded. "Raymond said he would take care of me. Daniel said it was just temporary. Henry, I was manipulated." I leaned back. "Emma, I spent 30 years catching people who lied for a living. They all said the same thing. It wasn't me. I didn't know. Someone else pushed me." Her tears intensified. "I made mistakes, okay? But I still—" "You didn't just make mistakes," I said quietly. "You planned to ruin me." She reached across the table, desperate. "I'm your wife, Henry. I still love you. You're angry now, but we can fix." "No," I said, standing. "No, Emma. You love my money. You love the life I gave you. You did not love me. The silence that followed was suffocating. I placed a second envelope on the table. This is from my lawyer. Divorce papers. I've already filed. Emma's mouth fell open. What? Already? Henry, please, don't do this. Don't humiliate me. You humiliated yourself, I replied. At that motel. With those men. With every lie you told. She broke down completely, face buried in her hands. There's still time, she sobbed. We can tell people it was a misunderstanding. We can go to counseling. Henry, I have nothing left. Please don't destroy me. I looked at her for a long moment. I didn't destroy you, Emma. Your choices did. I walked to the door. Before leaving, I said one final thing. I hope you find whatever you were chasing, but you will not find it with me. And I closed the door behind me. Within a week, everything hit them. Raymond Lim, terminated from his bank, investigated for client fund manipulation, harassed nonstop by loan sharks. Daniel Ong, arrested for insurance fraud, sued by multiple victims, served divorce papers from his wife. Emma Munn, charged with forgery, questioned for involvement in attempted financial fraud, left scrambling to defend herself in a world she thought she controlled. None of it brought me joy, but it brought clarity. I moved out of Montquiera. Too many memories there, most of them now spoiled. Instead, I bought a smaller, quieter unit overlooking Bangsar South. A place where no one knew me as Emma's husband. A place where mornings were peaceful and nights didn't echo with suspicion. I started walking more, cooking again, reading in the evenings. Life slowed back down to something clean, something honest. Sometimes I thought about Emma, not with longing, but with a detached sadness for what she became, for what she chose. Mostly, though, I felt something else. Freedom.